Hi guys, welcome back to the ultimate guide to beginners beach fishing. As you can probably tell, we're not on the beach today. We're actually going to start just looking at some rods and some reels, see the differences between some of them, and give you a better idea when you're getting your own, give you a better idea of what it is you're actually looking for. Don't forget, this is sort of a channel for people starting out, beginning in the sport, so we're not looking at massively expensive pieces of kit. You probably see behind me we've got a few rods on display there. So the difference being, obviously, with these is, I don't know if this is going to show out too well, guys, but if I show the tips, where the tips of these rods are, you've got, working from left to right, 10 foot, a 12 foot and a 14 foot. Now what you tend to find with a lot of fishing rods for the beach fishing, if you purchase one off the internet, you don't know what it is you're getting. So I'm always concerned when people are going to try and get something from the internet. What you've got to bear in mind at all times is whatever you use, you've got to be able to throw out a lead weight, and this is a 5 ounce one. It's got to be able to throw out somewhere around about 5 ounces of lead weight as a reasonable distance, so it's got to be strong enough to be able to do that. You don't want something that's far too floppy. Now for you younger people out there, you might be looking at something smaller like the 10 foot rod that we have. It's nice and light, but it will actually do a job for you until you grow into something a bit bigger, and it will get you out and fishing until you know what it is you want to do in this sport. If you want to improve and continue, you might want to spend a little more later on, but these are very, very reasonably priced. Look around for them. I'm not going to recommend any particular make. That's not what I'm here to do. This one's actually by a firm called Rovex. They do budget end of the market, but they're very, very usable. I've had a set of these now for some while, and I've been the youth group I work with have been using them. As an adult, you're highly likely to want something a little bit longer and a little bit stronger. This is actually a 12 foot I've got in my hand at the moment, and this is, I would say, for an adult, probably the minimum sort of length you'd be looking for. This one's actually by a company called Shakespeare. They're well known in the fishing world, and as I say, this one will throw out 4, 5 and 6 ounces of lead reasonably easily. It's not too much of a problem. With this particular one, probably remember it, mentioned last week, I hope, in the previous shot, you need to get this end of it bent. This tip, right at the very tip of the rod, that's going to be there for bite detection, so it's going to be fairly flexible. If you're casting a lead out, this is the portion you want to start getting bent, and it's further down the rod. So this one is fairly springy, so it's ideal for people that haven't got too much strength possibly, or if you're just starting out and you just want to be able to ping a lead 40, 50 yards, 60 yards, something like that. This will do the job for you without any problem at all. And again, a lovely little thing that'll get you out fishing. I've been using a set of these now for the best part of 10, 12 years. Very, very little damage, and for the price of these, I hate the phrase "you can't go wrong," but hey, you can't go wrong with that. Really lovely piece of kit for the money. Also in the adult range, really, is something longer. Now this is a 14 foot long rod. This is based on what's generally called a continental style rod. This is actually 3 pieces. You saw how to put it all together last week. The beauty of these is that the longer the arc, the longer the rod, the bigger the arc. Therefore, in theory, you should be able to cast it out further in the first place. You can get, this particular one is by, where's the company name on this one? It's not even on there. Amazing. No, I can't actually. Oh, there we go. It's a company called Akuma. These I found very reasonably priced again, well within the budget range. It's actually one of my clients brought one of these along, and I was that impressed. I went out and bought 4. So that will tell you how much I think of them. They are a little bit brittle, so you don't want to be going dropping them on the shingle. You don't want to drop any of your rods on the shingle; it's going to do damage. But again, that's something you want to look for if you're a little bit stronger, sort of a little bit older. Adults and maybe some teenagers would be looking at something along the lines of a 14 foot rod. Some of the what they term true continental rods are a lot thinner and a lot lighter. And again, the same thing applies. You know, you can buy budget ones, but a lot of the budget ones are too, I will use the word floppy. They're too floppy to get a lead weight out a decent distance. They bend too easily. You need to be able to bend it, not it just bend because you've just picked it up. That's not how this is supposed to work, guys. One of the biggest things I see all over social media is people asking what's the best rod for this, that and the other, and they will name one of the big name companies. There's a few around. There's no such thing as the best rod for it, unless you're talking the best rod for you as a person, you as an individual. We are all of different shapes, you know, heights, different strength. Some people I've worked with have had shoulder injuries and the like. You've got to take all of that into account and find the best rod for you as an angler, not the best rod, because, I mean, you post on social media what's the best rod for so-and-so, you're going to get several hundred replies, highly likely to be a lot of them different, because people are telling you what they think is their best rod for them. It's not necessarily the best one for you. So your best bet for me, guys, is go down to your local tackle shop, get your hands on a rod, and when you do, put a reel on it as well. Don't just pick up a rod and think, oh, that's really light. You need to feel it with a reel on, because that makes a difference. They all should balance fairly just above the reel seat. You saw how, you know, it makes life easier when you're reeling in. So just bear that in mind when you're looking for rods. What I would say to you guys is, if you're looking for rods and you're not really sure and you want to talk about it to me, then we can do that through social media. Message me through Facebook. Find Brian Pask on Facebook, and I'm happy to talk to you guys. But my advice is, as I say, go down your local tackle shop, talk to the guys down there, have an idea of what your budget is before you walk through the door. Don't just, you know, go in there and come out with several hundred quid's worth of kit. There's absolutely no need. Each one of those rods is well under £50 that you've just seen, well under £50 each. So, you know, bear in mind that there's some reasonable budget stuff out there. It will get you out fishing to get you started. Yeah, as you go through your journey and get older and better at fishing and want to do more and more and more, you might want to change that rod for a nicer model, something that will do a little bit different, something a bit different for you. But to get you started, guys, you cannot go wrong with these things. I'm going to move into fishing reels. We have on the table an array of different sorts of reels, and hopefully you can see one or two of them there. What we can actually do is have a look through them. Essentially, guys, there are two sorts of reels that we use in beach fishing. We're actually going to concentrate on one. I'm going to stop playing around with the camera and try and hold it steady. That would be rather useful for everybody else, otherwise you're going to get seasick watching me. One of these, that's called a multiplying reel, because for every one turn of the handle, the spool goes round several times, sort of 4, 5, 6 times, whatever it may be. It's got magnetic brakes on the side there. These are the ones that when you're casting out, you wrap your thumb around it like that, take your thumb off to release the line, and you've got to stop it as well, because when you cast one of these out, it's going around at several thousand revolutions a minute, several thousand. That spool there, so the line's coming off of it. If you get it wrong, you end up with, here's a term for you guys new to the sport, a bird's nest. It is a mass tangle of line, the like of which you never want to see. You will do, as your angling journey progresses, you will get them. Sometimes you can unpick them, sometimes you're better off just cutting it all off and starting again. But we're not going to concentrate on the multiplier reel. What we're going to look at is what's called a fixed spool reel, and that's the sort of thing that you saw last week. Like so. Now, these things come in different sizes. This is one of the smaller ones. This is a 6,000 size. It's ideal on something like the smaller rod that we looked at, the 10 foot. It's ideal for younger people because it's that bit smaller, it's therefore that lot lighter as well, so it's really worth bearing that in mind. From there we step up to the 7,000 size. Now, as you can see, that's quite a big bit bigger. You can see the size difference there. The added advantage you've got, this is actually a reasonable one. This is on the, I would have said mid-range from a value perspective, is around about £100-ish. This is a Pen 7000. What you can see is the spool itself is slightly coned from the back to the front. You can also see, hopefully from that, the lip, which is this running around here, the line is pretty close to it. The reason for that is as this line comes off the reel, it's clipping the lip all the time. It's acting like a little brake. So you need, the fuller the spool is, the less. So the more line you got on there, the less of that spool is going to get touched. So the line therefore flows off better, and you should be able to cast it further. Lovely theory. We like a good theory, guys. You've also got quite a long spool on this, so you can see the travel of depth across there. Whereas opposed to the smaller one we looked at, it's a lot shorter. You can see the difference there. Again, that makes this a better for reel for casting. But it is that bit heavier. And as I say, I would highly recommend the 6,000 size to young people starting out in the sport. We'll come back to this one in a moment because we're going to move up to its big brother. That's the 8,000 size. Now it's the same reel, just a bigger model. And you can see the difference between the two. I'll put them together. The 8,000 is, as you can see, a bit of a beast. It's quite heavy compared with the 7. And so compare it with the 6, there's a massive difference. But again, you can see the line up to the lip of the spool. It's on as far as you want it to be, so it flows off easy as we mentioned. This one is great if you're looking for some distance casting. I love using the 7,000. It's that bit lighter. It gives me a little bit more pleasure in my fishing than the 8,000. So personal preference, I'd go for this rather than the bigger one. But as I say, highly recommend the smaller one for young people starting out. As I say, it's just the weight issue alone makes a massive difference to it. Why do I recommend these fixed spools over a multiplier when you're starting out? I mentioned the dreaded bird's nest, guys. With these, you can almost guarantee you're going to get one at some stage, and pretty soon in your angling journey. And if you do get quite a few, it's really frustrating. It's likely to put you off the sport. Not what we want. They can be quite difficult to control. The technology is improving these things all the time, and the brakes are getting better and better and better. I actually turning the brakes virtually off on mine now. That's just personal preference because I know what I'm doing with it. I can control it. With one of these, you saw what happened last week. We unclip it. As soon as you let the line go off your finger when you're casting out it goes. The line peels off. It hits the water. You flick it back over again and tighten it up. You don't. Rarely do you get bird's nest with these unless you do something slightly wrong with it. Okay, and that's going to be down to user error. Whereas with the multiplier, it can just happen any given moment. So hopefully, guys, you've got an idea of why we're using these rather than the multiplier. So let's have a look. Let's have a look at the fixed spool reel. What is it actually? What's going on with it? What's all the bits and pieces hanging around it for? So you just saw me undo that little nut on the top. So that allows the spool to turn around. Let's show you. Hopefully you can see the actual spool moving. You can hear it clicking if nothing else. If I tighten that up, it's not moving quite so easily. It's a little bit tighter. So the reasoning behind it is, one of the things is you've got a big fish on and you don't want to snap your line, so you're bringing it in. So what you actually tend to do is just tighten up that not so it's tight and won't move, but you can see the effort I'm having to put in. You can hear it coming off. The effort having to do that, a fish can take line, but it's going to be a bit of a struggle for it, so it's going to tire the fish out, and that's what this is all about. It just helps you get the fish in without snapping your line, tiring the fish out until you can get it onto the beach. The other reason I recommend using one of these is when you cast it out, you've seen what happens. We're using an anchor, a spike lead, and we said these spikes are like an anchor. It goes out, you wait for it, sits in the bottom, these little spikes bury into the sand and it'll hold it in one place. So you walk back to your rod rest. What you don't want to do is have a tight line that pulls them spikes out of the ground. You undo it, walk it back, you can hear it going, it's running round and round, it's taking more line off till you get back to your rod rest. Always tighten it up. If you've got chance of some big fish out there, and there are some about, guys, sometimes you want to set that drag so that if a big fish pulls, it'll actually take the line like that from the bite itself. We get that with things like smoothhounds and bass and fish like that. They will actually pull that away, and rather, you'll still see the bite, you'll hear this clicking as well, believe me. But what it won't do is pull your rod off the rod rest and halfway down the beach. And yeah, we all seen it happen. If you've been out fishing for any length of time, you're likely to have seen that happen, guys. What you don't want to do is wave all your kit goodbye that you've just been out and bought. So it's well worth just remembering that you can set that drag for that reason. I'm just going to bring the line in by hand. As you can probably see, I'm just running it through my fingers, just keeping the line tight as it's going on. The reason for that is I don't want loose line on the reel, purely because that is what can lead to a tangle when you're trying to cast out some loose line. You don't want that. So if you're putting line on your reel, my recommendation, I'll show you in another video how to get line on there in the first place if your reel doesn't come with it fixed in. I always attach that to the bottom end of a rod, and then I can clamp the line to the rod and let it run through my fingers as I'm reeling it in. Just makes that little bit of sense. What else have we got? What I'm going to do, I'm going to use my little clip. I don't know if you can see what I'm going to do. The line from the other side of the spool there, I'm just going to clip the line over it so it holds it in one place. Turn the spool round, and hopefully, guys, you can see the clip holding the line there, and it stops the line from spilling all over your tackle box or wherever you may be keeping your reel. Useful little trick. Going to the back of the reel, obviously we've got a handle. I am going to loosen that so I can turn the handle, guys. So you turn the handle. What actually happens with this, if you watch it very carefully on profile, hopefully, not going to happen. What you should be able to see is the spool itself going up and down, and that's to help the line sit across the entire length or width of the spool, the breadth from the top to the bottom. What I'm going to do is actually clamp it. There's a little line clip in there as well, guys. I don't like using them too much. What I don't want to do is start messing with this and having the line going everywhere. You can see fingers and thumbs, so no matter how long you've been doing this, you can still make complete mess of yourself and an idiot of yourself, especially on camera. Really useful. Right, now we can get it going, so you can see it on profile that that's going up, and now it's coming down the spool. You can see it travelling up and down. There it's down at its lowest point, and if I get that bit out of the way, it's now going to go back up again. So this spool will travel up and down. This part stays where it is, the line goes up and down, and that's what enables the line to lay across this spool in a nice orderly fashion. When you're casting it out, therefore, it comes off in a nice orderly fashion and prevents any tangles. That's the theory behind it. This little piece here, I don't know if you could see it on the film, but this little bit right in the centre here actually moves round. So that's a little roller in there. That's well worth giving a little bit of spray of WD-40 or something similar in there every so often. You do not want corrosion in that, you just want it to be able to move nice and freely. This part, this is called the bail arm. That's B-A-I-L. No, it's not, it's B-A-L-E. It's misspelt. So when we're casting, you saw what happened last week. We pulled that off. Before that, we clamped the line to the rod with the index finger. Yeah, because you don't. As soon as you do that, if you've got a lead weight on there, it's just going to peel the line off. So when you're setting up, first thing you do on setup before you put the line through the rod rings is make sure you've got the line underneath that roller. So don't pull it back. You can do it that way. So when it goes in, it's underneath the roller. My preference is to do that. Is just have that. So I've got to struggle a little bit just to pull the line off to get it through the rod rings. It works for me because I've got it under tension. It's not spilling line everywhere. Okay, so don't forget you've got the bail arm, and you pull that back to cast. You put it back as soon as you've cast out, because you don't want line flittering everywhere. So just bear that one in mind. You've probably noticed if I pull that back, you can see the rod, the handle, which will bring the line in. If I wasn't, if I keep it straight, it's everywhere. I will sort that out in a moment. The handle will only go one way. There's a reason for that. And that's this little switch back here. They all got something somewhere, or usually have. Sometimes it's underneath here, sometimes it's here. What this little switch does, if I turn it the other way, you'll see now the handle goes both ways. So a high recommendation on this one, guys, keep it in its locked position, 99% of the time you want it locked. You certainly don't want it unlocked whilst you've got you're on the rod rest, because what you do not want to do is have a fish get it, or a wave get it, and the wind get the line and pull it off, and your line's going everywhere because it's peeling off. It's peeling off, and you don't want it to happen. You want it to stay where you've left it. So just bear that in mind. Keep it in the locked position. Some people, rather than pull it off that way when they've cast out and the lines hit the water, some people will release it that way, walk it back. Don't forget to lock it. If you're doing that, bear in mind this is going to spin round, and if it's chilly and that hits your hand, it's an ouch moment. It's quite surprising how hard that can hit you and how much it hurts. So just be a little bit careful about that one, guys. Last thing I want to touch on the reel is you can probably just about pick out on there. You've got an orange line and you've got a yellow line. Now, I know I mentioned it last time out. This is what we term a shock leader. Now this particular one, the orange line, is 60 pounds breaking strain, and that's there literally to take that strain when we're casting, because that up and over movement with 5 ounces of lead, it stretches the rod, it bends the rod, it stretches the line. What you don't want it to do is actually snap the line, because it's potentially dangerous if there's people around. You shouldn't be casting anywhere near at people anyway. Please, when you're casting, always look around you and to the sides to make sure that where you're actually casting is a free zone, there's nobody in the way. And if they are in the way, ask them to just politely ask them just to move out of the way is your best bet. The main line on that is about 15 pounds breaking strain, that's 1.5. Why do we not have the stronger stuff all the way through? The thickness of that will catch more tide in the water and more wind, and it makes your lines a lot harder when you're fishing. So, on top of which, there's more diameter, so it's going to catch this lip a lot more when you're casting. So the thinner line will cast further than a thicker line as well. So there's a few little bits and pieces to bear in mind. Now I can get away with using 15 pound. We call that the main line, and this is the shock leader. I can get away with using 15 pound breaking strain main line. I fish over what's termed a clean beaches most of the time, which is predominantly sand. Very rare do we go fishing in amongst all the rocks. If you do, you're probably going to want a stronger line, because you've got to haul it out and try and get kit out of rocks and the like. So depending on where you are in the country, in fact, you may well need to be doing that. You may need to up your line strength. Best people to talk to, guys, tackle shop. There's going to be likely to be a tackle shop hopefully near where you are. Big regret is that a lot of tackle shops are closing down. The economy at the moment is not great. Tackle shops are feeling the pinch as much as everyone else. The internet has a massive impact on our tackle shops, so on behalf of our tackle shops, use them, guys. Otherwise, when you want one, they ain't going to be there. I keep seeing on social media quite a few closing around the country, and I hate seeing it. So I certainly use my local tackle shop as much as I can. They're very, very helpful, very knowledgeable, so it's well worth sort of getting into your local tackle shop, talking to the guys and getting a bit of a bond with them. You'll find out places you can fish that are producing fish. You'll get information about your kit and the best way to use it sometimes as well. There's some really good guys out there that are willing to help. Guys, hopefully you saw the first video as well. If not, please tune into that one as well. Please feel free to like and subscribe to the channel. We're going to be doing more videos as we go about various parts of beginning beach fishing. I think next time out we might be looking at rigs, hooks, bait, that type of thing, and how to get the bait on the hooks. Always a useful tool, isn't it? Something we all need to do. All I'm going to say is, guys, keep safe out there. If you've got any constructive comments, please put them on the chat. If you've got any questions that you want answered, put them on the chat or contact me via Facebook. As I said earlier, it's Brian Pascon there. I'm more than happy to take questions on Facebook, personal messages, etc. guys. Keep safe, hopefully see you soon on the beach. Bye for now.